Hey y'all, today we are talking Berryessa October 19th crappie fishing. We went for bass fishing in the front half of the day and it wasn't going very well, so we ended up crappie fishing. The areas that we went to were up Pope Creek, very well-known area that it's going to. But what we got to eat them on and kind of what they were doing, that's what we're going to cover.
Okay.
As far as weather, there was a slight breeze, nice 70-degree day. It was t-shirt weather.
T-shirt weather. I think the breeze periodically was a little hard for us to stay set up in a position to be able to really get good targeted casts.
And then you give it a little bit of time and then it died down.
Yeah.
So that it was phasing in and out, but there was always kind of at least a little steady breeze the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
We fished for about 2-3 hours for crappie fish. Somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into it.
All right.
So we started off on one of the pilings. There was a school on that piling, but not like a really big school.
No, I think they were really hugging the pile. They weren't even chasing the bait that were going by. They were just really locked to that pile, which is actually standard for that particular pile.
Yeah.
That pile is not very active. There's always fish on it, but it seems like they're not active. I think the current that runs through there is not on that side of the bridge piles.
Yeah, it's not their favorite side.
Yeah.
Not their favorite side.
Yeah.
Ended up going, as we were moving our way to the other one, we spotted a bigger school.
Yeah.
Where you could tell they were obviously larger size, almost down to the bottom. So they were like that 30, 40-ish, somewhere around there.
They would periodically raise up to go get bait, and they would actually raise up in unison.
Yeah.
They weren't 5 or 6 pulling off to get bait. It was the whole school pushing bait through that whole bay between the rock bank and the pile. They were going back and forth and back and forth. That's what also made it hard for us to catch a bunch of them.
Yes.
Because they were, normally if they locked in like that, they'll lock in and just a few would dart off and come back and dart off and come back. But this was one of those constantly moving schools, but they didn't move out of the area. They just stayed pretty much locked in on that bait. So that was pretty cool. Now, the only hard thing was, 35, 40 feet down. The wind was pushing us off, so we had to cast 50, 60 feet. So that was probably the hardest thing, to get the bait down there fast enough before it started to pull away from the school.
Yeah, that wind, fighting the wind and casting into them was definitely hard. One of the things I noticed, if we put the boat over the top of the school, they would slide off to one side or the other. They didn't want us over the top of it. So you had to kind of stay back a little bit, and then the school kind of would settle down.
Yeah.
But then you're back to that long cast.
Exactly.
And then just floating around in there. They mainly were going in between one of the pilings and the other piling, and then there's also a little rock area around there.
Yeah, they kind of huddled on that rock bank. They hugged that for a minute, and then they'd move. It was just standard crappie stuff. Standard crappie behavior. They
around.
Yeah.
Number one thing that I saw that was one of the reasons why they'd start shuffling back and forth was the bait balls coming over the top of them.
Yeah.
They'd slide up underneath the bait balls, wait for the right time, and then shoot up at them. With all that said, with all their acting and all that, one of the things that I had picked up was actually left over from bass fishing, and that was the Robo Worm 3-inch alive shad in baby bluegill. I had this on a drop shot, and that's all I had basically crappie wise, because I left all my Crappie Closet stuff at home, thinking that we were going to knock them out bass fishing, and it just wasn't there.
No.
So basically with this thing, what I was doing is I was just hovering it through the school and then giving it just a little shimmy shake. Picked up one out of that school, then that school moved. A little bit later on, got into another school, give it that little bit of shimmy shake, caught one from that, And then pretty much by then, Marlin got locked on. And besides one of the fish, Marlin pretty much, maybe two of the fish, Marlin pretty much caught the rest of them out of there while I was still throwing this. So if you want to see the difference between throwing a different bait or throwing the Crappie Closet baits, you could see how many more fish catches he had than I had. And I definitely was in that school just as much as he was. So what did you start out with? What was your bait? How was your process?
So first I targeted him. I went with what I call my monkey milk. It's just a flicker minnow, 2.5 inch split tail. It's got a grub body up front, and it's got a ton of action on it. Even when you're just pulling it through, that tail is still wiggling. You don't even have to bounce it or shake it. It'll bounce through the water column. Yeah, it'll bounce through the water column. And I was throwing out an 1/8 ounce jig head as a single, but I just could not get my bait down. Could not get my bait down, and holding the name Crappie Closet, I was holding a whole bunch of frustration. So,
I had some stupid bass guy caught two.
Yeah, I didn't catch any yet, so I had
to. You came back around though.
Yeah, so I'm in the back of the boat, cussing and fussing, trying to tie on a double jig rig with 2 1/8 ounce jig heads. These are similar to what I was using. These are just some standard Eagle Claw 1/8 ounce with a size 4 hook on it. Didn't matter the color of the jig head. It was really about the color of the bait. We were going with a white color. I call it my monkey milk. With that, and then I also had it in tandem with the a 2.5 inch swim bait. And so I think this was on the top, the split tail was on the bottom. And once again, we had to get a perfect cast. It wasn't like get close to them. We had to get past the school and let that bait pendulum through the school. And even then, it wasn't a bite every cast.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, the schools are constantly moving. Mm-hmm. So even if you line up, get that shot, by the time you get down, they're off to one side or the other more often than not.
Yeah.
And then they weren't 100% like you're saying, because you could go through that school where like I could actually feel my line bumping them.
Yeah.
Albeit I'm throwing the wrong baits. But I could feel my line bumping the fish, and they still weren't pulling the trigger on it.
Yeah, so it was fun to figure it out and to get that bite, but it wasn't fast and furious. But once again, knowing that they're pretty much in that area all year round, it's just a matter of depth and activity.
Yeah.
But to see them over there was fun. I just wish we had a little more fast and furious bite. But it was just crappie are real skittish. As soon as that trolling motor wants to sit and adjust itself, that's a spooking action right there. It spooks them, they'll get run off, and then they have to reset. So that means we have to fall off of them, and then they have to reset 10, 15. We're still casting, but they're not active. They're shut down because they're nervous. Yeah. So it's a fun bite. It's just people think it's easy once you find them, and it's just like anything. You got to figure out how to get them to bite.
It was still better than the bass fishing either way.
No, we saw them this time. I mean, half the bass were 3 or 4 at a time.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll jump off the bottom, when we see them on live scope or whatever. But it wasn't.
It wasn't wide open.
No, it wasn't wide open.
What other colors did you try throwing at them before you ended up with your monkey milk?
I tried a pink and chartreuse. I had a blue and chartreuse. These are some stuff I'm playing around with that aren't released yet. That's pretty much it. Normally, anything with a chartreuse tail, I usually can get a bite on. I don't care where I am. Delta, Clear Lake, Berryessa, anything with a chartreuse tail, I normally get a bite on. And these fish didn't want any of it, no matter where I was.
I did throw a couple different versions of a live shad, couple different flavors of the 3-inch. And the only one I can get a reaction on was this baby bluegill color. And then I threw some other 3-inch baits like a
I think you got
Yamamoto.
I think you got a bite on something else.
There was a Yamamoto monster bass one that I did get a bite on. But realistically,
that's the profile though.
Even with this profile, this is the same size.
You can see the profile is real similar. So same
size on that.
Yeah.
but they definitely wanted the Crappie Closet baits more than they wanted mine. Where could someone get a hold of these Crappie Closet baits?
Well, you can always go to my pages, Instagram and Facebook. Send me a DM. I am more than happy to create a custom color. But for the most part, we've got your pinks, blues, whites, chartreuses, some purples, and pretty much those are my base colors. So if you want to combine anything like that, we can do that as well. Can I say something?
Go for it.
Okay, so any of you guys out there like competing, even like you like bass fishing, I have a tournament series coming up at Clear Lake. There's going to be 6 tournaments total, 5 qualifiers, 1 championship, starting December 6th. These are posted on my pages, Crappie Closet and Marlin Carpenter on Facebook. And $175 per tournament. This includes largest crappie, general fee, biggest bass, and we're also contributing a portion to a team of the year tournament as well. So if you have any questions on any details, rules, or whatever, just give me a shout. We can definitely answer any of those questions. And just to let you know, this is the only crappie tournament in California. The only one. So if you like crappie fishing, come out, come support. We're trying to create a movement. I know you guys are out there, even some of you bass guys. That's why I have biggest bass inside my tournaments now. So come on out. It's a very fun tournament. We got to set up on the best times of year on Clear Lake, and let's make something happen. I like to see you guys out there.
Yep, for sure. So if you guys have any questions, you can always hit me up on Instagram, Straight Hook Fishing. You can hit him up on Instagram or Facebook,
Crappie
Closet. And if you can't find him, you can always hit me up, and I'll gladly refer you to him.
Exactly.
If you have any questions, ask them down below. If you have any comments, you can ask them down below. You can always hit me up on Instagram. And until next time, I hope you get them.